Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. 4 nerds by nerds. Hang out these nerds.
Nathan Nerdark.
Nerdark is Ted.
And today we have Good Paladins Don't Do That. Interview with a Death Knight?
If you want to jump down the description below, you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with us.
So we have a GM 911 from
Alex Hale.
So the problem is one of his players is a paladin and is slowly but surely been divesting himself of his paladin oaths.
Indeed.
And apparently, not only that, but there's a Death Knight in the game that he's kind of grown fond of and would like to work for him.
So the Death Knight is kind of like the big bad evil guy in the game, and the paladin...
He's not the Mother Teresa of their campaign? I can't believe it.
And it's a revised Death Knight. I don't know what they've done to modify it. But the paladin has grown tired of all of these fancy goody-goody two-shoe things, and he wants to go join this Death Knight. But at the same time, they've been playing this campaign for a year, and the paladin, as a Dragonborn, doesn't want to stop playing that character. He wants to stay as this PC and just be a double agent.
Personally, I don't think there's any problem with that. As a DM, I think it's kind of fun to do every once in a while. You just got to kind of know, though, being that player, being that character, is you're probably going to lose in the end. It's a good possibility, and you should be accepting of that. As a matter of fact, like, you should try and do your best to kind of like play your role, but at the same time, the game is for the heroes. You should be okay with losing.
I agree. It can be really good at the end of a campaign to find that kind of stuff out, and have to, like, one of your last fights is with a character against the character. But at the same time, it kind of...
Well, you know, it's one of those things. It can only be revealed at the very end, and if at any point it ends before then you're done with that character. You can't play him no more in this game.
Yes.
You know, you've lost that. You know, for whatever reason, whether you just weren't able to, keep up the ruse, the other players are too good and caught on, whatever the case may be.
When you're found out,
step off.
It's time to pull out the backup character.
Yes.
Now, in games that we've had in the past, you've had double agents in the
3
in the
times.
party.
Over the years, I've done it 3 times.
Now, I know there was when we had the fan game with Ty, or not
Yes.
the fan game, the Witch Hunter game where Ty turned on the party, and we weren't expecting that to happen. There was the time with Will's character, and literally his last session with us, he
got
arrested. And some of the party was ready to throw down on his behalf, and he's like, "No, guys, what they're saying is absolutely true." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, like in that instance, he was working at odds against the players, but at the same time, it was just a job to him, and he really didn't take it personal. He didn't go out of his way to do bad things to the players. He just had a job to complete, and they were kind of in the way, so he completed it.
Right.
And during the third case with Psycho Mike, I was building him up to it, and he was playing his rogue based off of Nate, a character, and he was a smuggler, and so he was trying to smuggle things in and out of a kingdom. And I was definitely, trying to egg him on and keep him doing that, because I did want to. Oh, there was another time too.
I know we talked.
What, did we not find out about it?
Well, it was slowly incubating him. Ryan's character in that game was a half-elven
Fighter wizard
who technically died and was giving a chance to continue living. And there was a Dragon magazine back in the day that brought in this game mechanic and this kind of these abilities based around taint.
So was this Warlock before Warlock?
Essentially, it would be Warlock before Warlock. So the key to doing it, I think, from a DM standpoint, is and from the player standpoint too, it's got to make sense for that character, and it should be a slow evolution. And here's the thing: if that character has built relationships with those other characters in the party, he shouldn't just abandon them. Like, those feelings should still be there. Being evil doesn't mean you are automatically divest of your feelings and your emotions and how you would feel about someone.
In fact, in some ways, your emotions have probably gotten out of control of controlling you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Dragonlance, Kitty Ara. It was a perfect example of someone who was the enemy, used to be friends with and close to, the companions of the Lance. That's not really what they're called, but I think I just merged like two different series. But the characters that were based around that saga, she was part of that group and then left and became a Dragon High Lord, which was kind of against what they were trying to do. And she was still in love with Tanis Half-Elven. I think several times through the books they have trysts, even though they're technically enemies.
Yes.
So there's definitely ways that you can do it, and as long as the player is being responsible with it and treating it as a person who has lost his way, has poor judgment now, the morals are gone, whatever, but it's not a character of being an evil character, but a real person that just kind of makes bad decisions or has faulty logic.
So I would say, as far as tips of how to actually handle it beyond the gross points we've already mentioned, is they need to work in small doses. And if the party is actively working against, say, this Death Knight or whatever the boss is, they have to stay within the party to be able to pass along information, to be able to undermine it at key points. And if they're accepting that this guy is a paladin and he stays within their trust, he has the ability to do these types of things and pass along clues or pass along information or leave clues that are going to aid the bad guy. And you want to work with this player to get to when that reveal is going to be. If you can plan a reveal as opposed to allowing it to just happen naturally, you're going to make a cooler scene than, the party stumbled upon something.
There should be lead up. You need to lead up to it, and it needs to simmer over time.
Because if you don't have something that's going to be like this culmination, you could have a situation where two people in the party drop. There's one person less, and the paladin goes,
I win D&D.
I could just win D&D right now.
Yeah.
Smite, dead.
Right.
Win. No one else wakes up, and I
it
party.
probably doesn't even make sense because they said long-running campaign.
Yeah.
Well, they've been playing this game for a year.
What I would suggest would be something which happens a lot in different movie plots, is that even though there was a betrayer, the betrayer needs something from the party. The party needs to do some activity, like maybe open a vault that only certain people can enter, like people that aren't like this with the Death Knight, and so that the Death Knight and his minions don't get access to this thing. So maybe there's some kind of magical treasure or a ritual that the Death Knight needs someone to go like bunk and bump somebody's elbow when they're doing it, and the Paladin will be in the perfect position to do that kind of thing, and that in a sense creates some kind of disaster or catastrophe, rather than simply, well, if I just eliminate this group of people, then I'm serving the Death Knight. So if it's something other than that, then you won't have this kind of axe murderer in the bedroom with you kind of feeling.
Well, and the other thing, too, is if you've been playing campaign for a year in real time, in game time, it should be much longer. Mm-hmm. And there should be real relationships still built between each player. Yes. And like you said, if it goes, I can just win D&D by killing them all, well, you're not really, you're playing a character at that point. Unless something happened to really fundamentally change how you feel about the rest of the venturing party, it would be really odd and weird.
Well, you could progress in a point where the subtle machinations of talking to this Death Knight and the promise of power, and that he's being lured away from the good, then, yes, it's like, okay, well...
All right, dude, listen. The venturing party is like your family. Tell me, what does it take for you to murder your wife and kids?
There has to be a promise of something that he requires. Maybe he has a lost love or something he wants to reclaim, and that trumps everyone else that's around him. So if the Death Knight promises some kind of necromantic resurrection or something,
there's got to be a button to push.
He'll be like, yeah, I'll go for that. How many people do you want me to off? I'll just go to a town and start. Just tell me when I'm done, kind of thing.
But it kind of has to be really good.
Yeah, to get that kind of like lever flip of being okay with killing people that you've been around with for a while. Or he could actually be a psychopath and just have just recognized it by the Death Knight talking to him.
A good example from our recent Shadowrun Cypher System game was my character and David's characters. He played a troll summoner type character. I played a human with dwarfism that was a rigger. And like my character's whole motivation throughout the game was reviving my wife who was in a coma. And literally he would do anything to make that happen. For that, he would have betrayed the rest of his Shadowrun team, aside from his son.
Right.
Like, he would have seen, Seattle burned to a husk. He did not really care what it took to get his wife back. He was real willing to cross all the lines. And that would be like an example that I would use. It comes down to like what would make that character flip those switches, like Nate said, and go evil. And if there isn't anything, well, you have to think of these incremental things of, can he really go after this objective without directly, destroying the party? Is there ways for him to feel okay with betraying the party and still getting what he wants?
Yeah, and it could be. It could also be a lie. I mean, the Death Knight doesn't have to be like, well, you're on my team now, so I'm going to let you in on the secret. Like, this is how it works.
Well,
So
he's
the
a
Death
bad
Knight-
guy,
The Death Knight is also manipulating the Paladin, regardless of how in, like, Flan the Paladin is with this Death Knight. So in the end, the Paladin might be thinking that he's not doing something terrible, like, oh, I'm just stopping this particular thing from happening, or I'm getting this object, and he says nothing really bad's going to happen, like, overall. Like, and my guys will be safe. So I can still complete what I want to do, and where I'm headed in my journey, hanging out with this Death Knight, and none of my family is going to die from it. So
I mean,
it'll be fine.
they won't care for me or like me anymore, but they'll get over it.
But they'll be alive. They'll know I did them a favor.
Yeah, essentially. So down in the comments below, you guys help us out, help this Dungeon Master out. What are your suggestions? While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over at nerdarchy.com.
While there, don't forget to check out the store.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.